Kenya's diplomatic and economic relationship with Belgium as the country bids farewell to outgoing Ambassador Peter Maddens, whose tour of duty in Nairobi has come to an end. President Ruto said Kenya and Belgium's partnership was built around trade and investment in renewable energy and climate action. Maddens was among 5 European ambassadors who recently concluded their postings in Nairobi. TV47's Fred Indimuli has had the sit-down with Maddens on his achievement in Nairobi and Kenya-Belgium relations.
All right, it's yet another opportunity to have a sit-down with His Excellency Peter Maddens, Belgium's ambassador to Kenya. Asante sana for this.
Karibu.
Yes. Only this time round, it's a bit different. That your tour of duty is coming to an end after 5 years in Kenya. But for
This time,
because you have a bit more experience in Kenya, having lived here in your teenage years. And one wonders, when your father was ambassador back in the 70s, and when you came back as ambassador now, how much had Kenya changed?
Oh, well, first of all, the population was, what is it, twice as much as it was in the 70s? The population doubled, so the size of the economy doubled, the world has changed around Kenya, so the focus of the economy and how Kenya developed has changed. Interestingly, I don't think the Kenyans have changed.
We're still the same.
Kenyans, you're still the same. You still have the same drive and ambition and creativity and diversity and especially sense of humor. That has not changed, even though there's many more of you. So it becomes even more overwhelming when you come here. Well, overwhelming may be too strong a word, but it becomes you feel the impact more, when you come here. So yeah, Kenya's changed physically, but not the people haven't.
So does this now draw the curtains on your experience with Kenya? Now that your tour of duty is coming to an end, you may have, I don't know, probably you're staying here longer. Are you staying here longer as a private citizen, or are you moving away from Kenya?
Well, I mean, my wife, who's been my rock forever, misses just stepping out of the house and walking, which, I mean, you can't do that here in Kenya, which is fine. That's the way it is, but she misses doing that, and so we're going to go back to Brussels for a while, but we'll be back. I mean, we will be back here, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you will be back as a private citizen. Are you hoping to do something more in Kenya?
I'm hoping. I mean, look, I have a bit of a history with Kenya. I have a bit of knowledge with Kenya, and if anybody, thinks that my opinion or my insights can be of value to them, then I'm available. Just give me a call. I'll call him. Call him first.
Yes,
and
then I'll call
and
you.
He'll put me in touch. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So for all those years you've been in Kenya, in both seasons, the first season and the second season, what would be your biggest memory that you carry away with you?
Oh boy. I think there's two things. Number one is having had the opportunity to turn the embassy here into the first net zero embassy in Nairobi and in the Belgian diplomatic network. I mean, we did a program on that a while ago, and the other one was actually something very atypical in diplomatic circles. I presented credentials to the son of the president to whom my father presented credentials.
Wow.
And that's, in my line of work, that's actually quite rare.
It rarely happens.
It is. In a republic, it actually never happens. In a kingdom, it can, because, the succession between the heads of state is pretty clear. But in a republic, too many stars have to align, but they did here.
They did align.
Yes.
How did that feeling, how was that feeling at State House, meeting a person you were with in high school, probably,
also,
now as president?
Yeah, it was funny. We couldn't stop giggling, and the officials were looking at us saying, "What the hell is going on here?" It was really, it was quite fun.
And it is true that you're actually in the same school with the fourth president of this republic,
same class.
Kenyattas.
Same class.
You were in the same class with him. Tell us more about that. How was he like in high school?
We were teenage kids, right? Boisterous, I guess. The Irish priests that we were going to school with were able to keep us, to tire us out by making us do sports 2 or 3 times a week. It was football and rugby and And that's how it was a regular high school experience, basically. And we were all, 17, 18 years old, so we were starting to drive, going out, sneaking out of school once in a while.
With someone who would become president.
No, I'm not going there.
All right. So how did it change now when you became ambassador in 2021?
Yeah.
And now it's a more serious role, a much older age, probably having to bring your own family here. How was that?
Well, my kids are 37 and 35, so they're not with us anymore, so they're back in Belgium. So I came only with my wife. And it was, we stepped into the house because not only did I come back and take up my dad's role or become one of my dad's successors, we actually live in the same house. The residence now is the same house that we lived in when I was a kid. So when we walked into the house, our staff wanted to show us around, and I said, no,
I know the
no
place.
need. I know the place. So that was pretty fun as well. But obviously, when you're a kid and your only responsibility is to go to school, then that's what you do. Whereas here, you're leading a team, you have other responsibilities. It's a little more intense. But contrary to most of my colleagues, when you arrive in post, the first thing you do is start building your network, and it takes you 9 months to a year to have a bit of a network in the various sectors where you need to have that network, which is like the business world or the political world, the bureaucracy, NGOs, your own diaspora, the other diplomatic colleagues. I already had part of that network.
You knew the president.
I knew, well, yeah, exactly. The political, lots of the business, lots of the bureaucracy. If I didn't know them personally, I knew them indirectly because they were actual friends, and I had more access. I had a little easier access than most of my colleagues, at least in that first period. And that made it all the more special, because the first conversation, every time you met somebody, the first thing you talked about was that. Okay. So you've been here before? Yes, I've been here before.
Now, as ambassador, how was the feeling like? How is it a different experience as ambassador? Fine, the age thing you talked about, but did you get to see Kenya in a different light as ambassador as opposed to when you were here just as a student?
Well, I wasn't here as a student. I was here as the ambassador's son. Right. So I was on my dad's coattails. So we from that perspective of how Kenyans were showing their country to my dad, and therefore to us, was basically the same as 50 years later, that Kenyans were showing Kenya to me, because they showed it with the pride that the country deserves to get, and with the diversity and the interest and the ambition, like I said. So it was, yes, it was different because it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember my dad and I driving up to Marsabit for a safari.
Wow.
When the tarmac stopped at Isiolo.
That was the end of it.
Yeah.
The rest is.
The rest was Marram roads all the way up. So we went to Marsabit for a week, and we didn't see tarmac for that whole week. But like I said, the experience, because I was the ambassador's son, was, from that perspective, was similar. But obviously the country's developed and changed since then, so it's been a bit.
How did your immediate family, take that move to come here on that mission? You said your wife stayed with you here, and your children probably they were visiting from time to time.
They came from time to time.
How did they find Kenya?
Well, one of my 20 years ago, I was ambassador in Tanzania, and then the family was with us. Yeah. So for them, it was a bit of a homecoming too, to come back to East Africa. So they enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. Let me take you back to something you talked about. The two highlights that you've had. One is presenting your credentials. The other one was the net zero project that you effect. Tell us more about that. Is this what you consider your legacy as you leave Kenya as ambassador?
I have nothing to consider as my legacy. My legacy gets defined by someone else. So if you consider it my legacy, then yes, that's my legacy. But what, you know, so I was inspired by a compatriot of mine who runs and owns a safari camp in Masai Mara, and because they wanted to think a little bit outside the box in terms of how they were going to run their safari camp, they decided that they would also do it on a net zero basis. Actually, in their case, it's carbon neutral, so it's beyond net zero. We visited the camp. He showed us everything that makes his camp net zero. And I was thinking to myself at the time, I think I can copy this. Found a colleague at the headquarters in Brussels who was equally willing to think outside the box as I was. He found some money to do the project, and we started it in October 23 and flipped the switch in February 24, and we've been off grid since then. So it's 4 pillars, and they're all interconnected. One is that all the electricity that we consume, we produce ourselves with solar energy, which we also use to charge batteries, which powers the buildings overnight. And when the power's gone. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Okay. We recycle all our water. We have borehole. We recycle it all. We reuse it to irrigate our gardens, and especially the vegetable gardens, which are hydroponic vertical vegetable gardens that we built in the same system as well. And whatever we don't consume, we put in biodigesters and turn into gas to cook and to heat the showers in the staff quarters with. So it's a fully integrated system. We can actually live off grid. We've kept our relationships obviously with KPLC and with Nairobi Water, simply because they serve the rest of the city. If you go off grid on electrically, for example, if you have only solar in your house, solar and batteries, and you cut your relations with KPLC, that means you're not paying KPLC for any service. And if too many people do that, KPLC has no more money to pay for the maintenance of the grid.
Runs out of business.
It runs out of business, and you don't want the public utility to run out of business either, right? So that's an issue and that's why we want to keep that relationship, because we want to be part of that conversation. Like I said, it's the first Belgian embassy worldwide to be this. Nairobi was obviously going to be one of the first, if not the first, and it turned out to be the first, in which we do this simply because of its climate and its location. Right. 7 hours of sunshine per day, rainfall when you need it during the year. So this is the place where the climate allows you to experiment with these systems. But we're also the first embassy in Nairobi, which I find a little bit surprising, because Nairobi is the capital of international of multilateral environmentalism, or of environmental multilateralism. I don't know which way to look at that. Both could mean separate things, but being that it has that role in the international system, it's very surprising that no embassy, no international organization has yet taken on that mantle of being carbon neutral and net zero.
Do you believe there are serious challenges that exist that probably make these people a bit slow towards?
Well, I guess it wasn't. The capital expenditure is still something that needs to be considered. So it's still a bit of a cost. Although, from what I understand, the cost is very quickly coming down to an acceptable level, especially on the solar side. That's one problem. The other problem is probably just simply bureaucracy, and this is too big an idea to implement as a bureaucrat, but we're getting there. We've decided that part of our net zero project is to be very transparent about it and show it to everyone who wants to see it, and that's been very, very successful. My wife and I do tours. We show like we showed on your program.
You've really showcased what you've done here. Indeed. How significant has this been, this project, and as far as environmental diplomacy, has it been one of those biggest undertakings of your tenure as ambassador?
Oh, as ambassador here, absolutely. Yeah, it it was $350,000 that it cost, so that was quite an investment. It was 6 months of, at times, 7 days of fundis. Running around the house, 6 months of that, yeah.
Wow.
Only 6 months, but 6 months. Depends on how you want to look at it. And it's been the most impactful. Everybody knows us now as the Green Embassy, which is actually what I wanted to do.
And applause and congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Now, but there have been other projects that Belgium and Kenya have collaborated in, away from what you've talked about. What else have you been up to as ambassador?
Well, there were a couple of agreements that had been languishing for a while. One was a double taxation agreement, so we signed that, and they're in the process of being ratified, so that our respective diasporas don't need to be taxed twice. Okay. Because without such an agreement, they're actually liable for taxes in both countries. Now they can choose where they want to pay the tax, and it's considered as having fulfilled their tax obligations in the other country as well. Brussels Airlines, which used to be Sabina, used to fly to Kenya, was one of the oldest companies to fly to Kenya. They started flying here, somewhere in the 30s, I think. Because, of course, if you look at a map of Africa, the seaports for Eastern Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, or Mombasa and Dar es Salaam, so Kenya has always been an important country for our bilateral work here in Africa. By the way, our first consulate here in Kenya was opened in 1928, so we will be celebrating 100 years of diplomatic presence in Kenya
in 2 years' time.
In 2 years' time, yeah.
Are you looking forward to coming to attend that event?
Well, if I get invited, I'll be here.
Okay.
So Brussels Airlines had flown here forever, and for various strategic business reasons, they decided, I think it was in 2016, to concentrate on their network in West Africa and leave within the group that they're part of, leave the connections with East Africa to other companies. Then COVID happened, and that whole strategy was rethought, and Kenya all of a sudden came back on the radar. And so while I was here, Brussels Airlines re-inaugurated its route between Brussels and Nairobi, which not only is very comfortable for me because I now get to fly straight home instead of having to transit, but I think it's important for Kenya also to have a direct connection with the capital of Europe.
Yes.
And we saw a huge increase in the number of for example, of visas that we delivered because of that direct connection. Brussels, for all its historical, for various historical reasons, is, like I said, the capital of Europe. So and we're proud of that. But it does mean that those connections directly with Brussels are very important. And luckily, Brussels Airlines and the Lufthansa Group it's part of have understood that and have reestablished that. Okay. I mean, they've also they've actually rediscovered, Brussels Airlines and the group have rediscovered East Africa, because now recently, only a couple of weeks ago, they inaugurated a direct flight to Arusha, to Kilimanjaro Airport in northern Tanzania. So apparently there's a market for all of East Africa. Yes. In Europe. We knew that. It was just a question of getting the numbers guys at the airlines to realize that as well.
All right. 5 years later, do you feel like there's any unfinished business, that probably there's something you should have done, and probably if time would allow it, you would go for it? I'm
a little bit sad not to be here for the 100th anniversary in 2028, but that's just the way it is. We can do better on the net zero. We can do more. Be even more vocal, more visible, and do even more so that we actually become carbon neutral rather than just net zero. There's always bilateral issues that we can do together. I'd love to have a bigger business portfolio, more businesses, more Belgian businesses that invest here. It'd be great if there could be Kenyan businesses investing in Belgium. That would be really, really cool, because that would mean that our relations and our partnership are further developed than most. I mean, right now it's I don't want to say it's only in one direction, but it's predominantly in one direction of Belgian companies coming here to partner. It'd be great if some of the big Kenyan companies could think about investing in projects in Belgium, because that equalizes the relationship. Yeah. So that maybe encouraging Kenyans to invest abroad, and not just in neighboring countries, but also go further.
Yeah. Is there something you feel that Kenyans can also do better looking forward, and with your experience here, that given the capacity you've witnessed, what you've seen, your interactions with the political players, industry players, that this is something Kenyans can do, but probably they're not doing it?
That's I do have an answer to that question. I guess the one thing, well, two things. Number one, we had a conversation here with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and at some point during the conversation, the other person said, "Look, we would be very interested in knowing how you can support us to do this or that." Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, the language and therefore the mindset and therefore the process have to change. Mm-hmm. The question should not be, how can you support us? If you do have a question, it should actually be, what can I do to convince you to come and invest in my partnership? Mm-hmm. Right? And actually, we should even go beyond that. I shouldn't, or you shouldn't be asking me for support. You should be pitching an investment to me. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to make our partnership work. And that's what's going to make a win-win partnership with a value added here and growth here. If you pitch an investment to me and convince me to come and invest in you, not just to come and support. Okay. Right? And in the same vein, governance. I think that's look.
What particular issue about governance?
Well, corruption, if you want the word. Uh-huh. That's the word you were trying to fight. Yeah, that's the word you were fishing for. You got it. It's look. We are told, and factually, it's not wrong. We are told that there is a difference in the way investments are treated in the north or in the south. And that difference is reflected in interest rates, mm-hmm. right? So if you go to a worldwide, a bank that is active across the world and ask for a loan to carry out a project in Africa or in Kenya, the interest rate that the bank will charge is higher than the interest rate than the bank would charge for a similar project in Luxembourg or Belgium. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some would call that discriminatory. I wouldn't, because discriminatory would mean that it's on purpose, mm-hmm. and it isn't. It's how the markets assess the risk differential between the two places where that similar investment mm-hmm. is taking place, and a large part of that risk differential has to do with governance. Okay. So, fix governance, and the risk difference, mm-hmm. the perceived risk differential, or the differential in the perceived risk, let's put it that way, mm-hmm. changes as well. Okay. I think that's probably the biggest issue here is governance.
Okay. Thank you for your frank analysis on that one. I could see you struggling to get it out, but it did come out.
I only have 2 more weeks, so they won't have time to process PNGing me if it's...
Do you feel, or have you felt during your tenure as ambassador, the need to help others settle down? Because quite a number of young ambassadors are coming in.
Yeah.
As we interviewed them, most of them were here only 4 months.
Yeah.
And have you done that?
What I've noticed is that my arc of Kenya is longer than most of my colleagues. Mm-hmm. So, I find myself, there was a conversation a couple of weeks back with a couple of colleagues about the upcoming elections. And one of the colleagues was saying, you know what would be interesting is if the opposition could come up with 3 or 4 different candidates, and then you guarantee a second round and blah, blah, blah. I thought, because they've never done that. I said, yeah, they have. It's been done before, and I could give them this election, that election, that election. I had various candidates on the opposition side, etc. So I find myself having this historical background that most of my colleagues, years ago, a couple of years ago, I was saying, look, every election in Kenya has been better than the last one, generally speaking. Because it all started with an election being the village standing on the football field behind their candidates. No, is that how they used to do elections? Yeah, that's how they used to do elections here. So it's yes. I because of that historical knowledge and which then also gives my analysis a different kind of flavor. I found that a number of colleagues have come and sat on these couches and we've had conversations and they always go away saying, wow, you told me stuff I didn't know.
Yeah. Do you feel now Kenya probably set in a trajectory where its relationship with the European countries is at a different level? You said first that the kind of approach we have is wanting, that should change. But how are we, even with the same approach we are having, at a different trajectory than before?
Oh yes, absolutely, and a good different trajectory. I love the fact that the president keeps talking about a new paradigm for the partnership with investment rather than aid, with economic cooperation rather than dependency. And I think Kenya is one of the countries on the continent that is furthest advanced in that trajectory. We are on the path to a new paradigm in our relations, and if only because pretty soon countries on the continent will have been independent longer than they were ever a colony, and much more importantly, the generation of leaders that is emerging are all people that have been born in the independent country of which they're a leader. I mean, the previous generation was still born with a European passport. The generation of leaders that are coming now are all were born Kenyan, from Senegal, from all those countries. The leaders were born in the independent country. I think that's an important moment in time. And it gives a different perspective on the historical context. It's much more a historical context than something you've lived. And that allows you to be more vocal, allows you to be more aware of your own identity, rather than in the past being the product of a historical tragedy.
Now, as you come closer to the end of this discussion, if you would look at the camera, and I'm requesting you to look directly at the camera and bid farewell to Kenya, probably with the promise that you would at some point still consider coming back. And let us know, if at all you come back, what would you be coming back for if you would do that to this camera?
I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying we'll be back. We'll see you again. I'm very much looking forward to, as a retired person, when I do retire, because I'm not retiring right now, but when I do retire as a retired person, it'll be for, just to come back on vacation, see friends, lifelong friends actually, because that's what my friends here in Kenya are. But I'm also very much looking forward to seeing the path that Kenya is following and to see how it grows. And if there's anything anyone thinks that I could be useful for, I would very much like to be part of Kenya's future.
So it's au revoir for now?
Au revoir.
All right. Ambassador Peter Maddens, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
This is His Excellency, Ambassador Peter Maddens, Belgium's ambassador to Kenya, whose tour of duty after 5 years is coming to an end today. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Fred Indimule for that insightful discussion. Now, tonight,